mental and physical healing. After 22 years of working in public safety, Rashonda resigned her position to pursue her passion in trauma recovery as it relates to sexual abuse and domestic violence. She is an advocate for survivors. Rashonda understands that there is a direct correlation between abuse and addiction. So for the past 4 months, she has facilitated a faith-based workshop at the Women's Recovery Center. It's a component of their treatment programming. She teaches life principles to assist with coping and survival choices. Rashonda has dedicated herself to helping others recognize and attempt to overcome the obstacles and detours that prevent them from fulfilling their life's purpose. Please welcome our next amazing speaker for this morning, Rashonda Jackson.
Thank you, Charlotte. Hello, Ontario. Hello. Well, this is probably my first time here, I would have to say. I went to Niagara Falls before, but I've never been here. And I'm actually from Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm a long way from home. But I'm excited to be here. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Charlotte for providing this space for women to come together and empower each other. So thank you, Charlotte. So I will start off by asking a question. How many of us have seen The Wizard of Oz?
I love your shoes.
Thank you. Okay. Either the 1939 classic version with Judy Garland, and there's also a soul version from 1978 with Diana Ross, right? So for those of us who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. I'm going to say that right now, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk a little bit about The Wizard of Oz. So it's a classic story about a woman named Dorothy, a young woman named Dorothy. She was orphaned, and she moved in with her aunt and uncle in Kansas, right? In the Wiz version, it was New York. Okay, so she moved in with her aunt and uncle, and she found herself in an unfamiliar place. Dorothy was looking for validation. If you remember in the beginning of the movie, she was trying to tell her aunt and uncle that the neighbor wanted to do something to her dog, which was her best friend, Toto. That was her best friend. That was the only thing that she was comfortable with and familiar to her in that unfamiliar place, was her friend Toto. So Dorothy she was trying to find, she also wanted to go to this magical place, which she called Over the Rainbow, right? Somewhere over the rainbow, I don't sing, forgive me, but somewhere over the rainbow. Okay, she wanted to get validation for what she was feeling, her emptiness. Okay, not feeling comfortable, not being in a place where she knew. She was living with people who were family, but they weren't her parents. So she was in a different place and she had to adjust, right? So Dorothy, a cyclone came, okay? And cyclone is like a big wind, a gust like a hurricane. And I want to use that in relation to our lives and things that come in our lives. A cyclone, something that sweeps us off of our feet. The cyclone took Dorothy to a place that she knew no one. So when she realized that she wasn't home, she started her journey to home. Right? She wanted to get home. She wanted to get back to that place that was familiar to her. So she started on her journey. As Dorothy goes along, she picks up 3 friends. A scarecrow, a tin man, and a lion. All 3 of those people were also lost. They were looking for something that they thought was missing and would later find that they already had it inside of them. Right? They were looking, they were searching, not realizing how to bring that about. And that's what a lot of us go through. We have it inside of us, but we don't know how to bring that thing forward. So we get stuck, right? So now, we have all had a Dorothy experience. I'm sure everyone in here can relate to either Dorothy, the scarecrow, the tin man, or the lion. Which one are you? Some of us can relate to all three, right? Depending on the circumstances. So I'm going to tell you about my birthday experience. For a long time, I lived in unfamiliar territory. I lived in me, and I didn't know me. I had no idea who I was. And I had to live with myself every day. Let me see. We can guess and say why, why did you feel that way? But I'm gonna tell you. At the tender age of 5, I was sexually molested by the son of my caregiver. I grew up in a home that was angry, hostile, volatile. There was fighting, uneasiness, Never knew from day to day what the feel was gonna be. So you had to tread kind of lightly, right? That was unfamiliar to me as a child. My dad went to jail for domestic violence for 7 years because he abused my mom. My mom, who never knew freedom till he left, right? She decides to go and lean to her vice. And she began abusing drugs and alcohol. So my parents were gone, dad in jail, mom in the streets. I was big sister, so guess what I had to do? I had to take care of my siblings. I was very good at keeping secrets because of my abuse. So I hid it from my family for as long as I could, and then they found out. They came and got us and took us. We were split up. I went to stay with my aunt and uncle. My sisters went to stay with my other aunt and uncle, and my brother went to stay with my grandma. This was my family. This is what I knew. It was uncomfortable. It was unfamiliar for me. Right? So, by this time I was age 16, living with my aunt and her husband. He began molesting me. I was living in their house. I was away from what I knew. I was a target, some people would say. I was a target. I became pregnant by him and experienced my first abortion at the age of 16. Wow. So, experiencing all that abuse for all those years, I lost my identity. I lost who I was. I had become a very shy, insecure, fearful young woman with low self-esteem. At the age of 18, I was freed, I thought. I went to college. Yay. Went to college, graduated. I said, now I can finally start my life, my journey to home. But it was hard for me to get to my yellow brick road. You know why? Because I had picked up some friends along the way as well. But my friends were always following me. Those ones I told you about before, the low self-esteem, the introvertedness, the shyness. They were following me, and they were so heavy on me that it was hard for me to make it to those yellow bricks because I had all this baggage. And on top of that, I picked up more friends. Overeating, promiscuity. All of those were dragging along with me, so I could never get to my road. It was hard. It was a struggle. It was a struggle for me. I took my baggage baggage everywhere. To college, in my marriage, in my job, and ultimately into my motherhood. I just couldn't get rid of it. It followed me everywhere. I didn't want that stuff on me because it was heavy, and I couldn't carry it by myself. We often think that if we forget about it, try to block it out of our minds, it'll go away. I try to do that to my baggage a lot. Try to just forget about it, like, oh, that didn't happen. I'm okay now. That was years ago. I don't have to live there. I don't have to take this with me. But I still feel it, but I'm still trying to forget it. So it's like a heavy bag you're carrying on your back. You're trying to forget that it's heavy, but it's still there. That was me. Boy, was I wrong. By the age of 30, my life had completely flipped over. My family found out that my aunt's husband was abusing me. But you know what? They did nothing about it. He was allowed to come to family functions still. He was allowed to be around the children. He had known me since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So that made me feel like I was a victim. My aunt, God rest her soul, stayed married to him till she died in 2013. Just 6 years ago. So for that time, being around my family was hard because I didn't want to, because he was there. I had to put on a face and pretend that nothing was wrong. How hard is that? When my aunt found out when I was 30, even though that was 14 years prior, when she found out, I went back to that 16-year-old girl. I thought I had grown. I had grown in age. I had grown in stature. But I hadn't grown in my healing. I was still there. I was still there. By the age of 32, I was getting a divorce and becoming a single mother. By the age of 34, I experienced my first bout of depression. And boy, if people tell you depression isn't real, don't believe them. That is a real place. I never understood what it meant and that it existed, but it is a real place when you don't feel like you want to do anything that you used to like to do. And mind you, I had a 5-year-old. I would get up, get my 5-year-old dressed for school, take her to school, come back and lay on my couch till it was time to go pick her up, or if I was working. I don't even know how I made it do work. That was a blur. And I worked for the Cleveland Division of Police, and I took emergency phone calls from other people. But I had my own emergency. But I did it, and it lasted for 6 months. It's a real place. I became addicted to food. I even went through a period where I was dating married men. What was wrong with me? I didn't understand what was happening. I had to really do some emotional searching and get close to my spirit and realize what was wrong with me was that I hadn't healed. I was still broken. My soul was broken. So I was acting out those emotions in other ways. My family didn't do anything about the injustice. I had gotten divorced. I was a single parent. I didn't want that. I was broken, and I didn't understand why I was doing these things. I wanted to be a whole person. So I realized at the age of 39 that I had to do something about it. There were some things that I needed to do. And I'm going to tell you what they are. The first thing I needed to do was I had to realize that I have a purpose in this world. There is a reason why we're all here. There's an assignment on our life. The things that we go through is not for us, it's for someone else. Your testimony is for someone else. Your experience is for someone else. Although you may not understand it when you're going through it, and we don't, but it's not for you, it's for you to get the message to someone else. The second thing I had to do is I had to know what love is. I had to love myself. Being abused, you don't love yourself. You look at love in different ways. I thought love was sex. I thought love was giving my resources, my money, my time, my energy to people who most of the time did not deserve it. That's what I thought love was. I didn't think I was lovable enough. When people came my way, I always looked at them like, what do they want from me? I couldn't open myself up. I still had that shield up. And I always knew that they wanted something. And most of the time they wound up wanting it because guess what? When we ask for stuff, we get it. The universe is true. It gives you what you want. So yeah, I was used a lot of times because I didn't know what love was. I didn't know how to love me, so I definitely couldn't love anyone else. You can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. The third thing I had to do, which is one of the hardest things, is forgive. Not only the people who hurt me, but myself. I had to forgive my parents for splitting up our family. I had to forgive my dad for being abusive. I had to forgive my mom for being a drug addict and an alcoholic. And I had to forgive that man who sexually molested me for 2 years. I had to forgive the man who molested me at 5. I had to forgive. And then I had to forgive myself and realize that it was not my fault. I didn't choose this family. I didn't choose these circumstances. I was born into it. So I had to play the hand that I was dealt. I had to forgive. And don't mistake it. Forgiveness doesn't mean you reconcile the relationship. That doesn't mean because I forgive you, I have to sit down and have dinner with you. It means I'm releasing you from my spirit so I can become a whole person. That's what that means. I had to do a lot of that, and that's tough. For people who hurt you, it's tough to forgive. The next thing I had to do was build up my faith. I lived in fear for so long. I didn't know what faith was. I was scared to open my mouth. I was scared to foster female friendships because God forbid we're sitting at a table talking and it slips out that I was having sex with older men. I was afraid of people knowing my secrets. So I had to build on my faith and understand that there's something greater for me. I am not my past. I can move on. That was a moment compared to a lifetime. And that moment was not for me. It was for me to empower someone else and help them understand that they are not alone. The last thing I had to do was I had to get some vision. I had to get some vision. I had to see beyond what I'm looking at right now. I had to understand that I need to go forward and find what I am supposed to do along with my purpose. Because if you can see it, you can have it. One of the things I do in my workshop is vision boards. How many of you have done vision boards? Every year, January 1st, me and my daughter and I sit down and we do vision boards. And we look at the end of the year, and I can say probably 90% on my board I get. boards are powerful. Write the vision and make it plain, so people can see it. If you look at something long enough and you believe something long enough, it'll happen. So by applying those principles, it allowed me to drop off that shame, drop off that guilt, drop off that insecurity. And every time I dropped, the closer I got to my yellow brick road. I dropped it off because I was able to pick up something else. I am finally in a position where I can say that in spite of what I've been through, I can be me. I can be free. And so can you.